We have got to talk about a massive potential red flag for Nvidia stock. I'll show you exactly what I've been looking at pretty much all morning, trying to figure out where exactly we go from here with Nvidia stock. Do we get a bounce and a massive rally, or do we get a fall through and a massive drop? We're going to have to take a look and see with the technicals what exactly is going on. So if you guys want to see these technicals before they hit YouTube, they are already available with some text commentary over at the Discord, available through the Patreon, links down in the description. And you can do this technical analysis yourself for all your favorite stocks, ETFs, crypto, you name it, through Stockmo Academy. There's a link down in the description for that. Use code word doctor when you sign up. We can talk more about that later. In the meantime, right into the charts for Nvidia. As a matter of fact, let's do ourselves a favor. We're going to go out to the weekly chart on this so I can really point out to you what I've been seeing on here and what it is that I'm so concerned about when it comes to Nvidia. So we're going to do one more thing. We're going to come in here and we're going to hide some of these technicals that are on here because I really want to draw your attention to just a few things that I think are really worth paying attention to on this. There we go. We've seen Nvidia making a pretty massive climb recently, and what I want to draw your attention to on this is the fact that the price has been appreciating, well, for a really long time, but mostly since the March 2024 time period forward from there, we've had tapering volumes on this, so less conviction in that price. Matter of fact, there's a blue line, maybe you can see it on here, showing the 20-period moving average for volumes, and we've been pretty much below those, well, the entire time. For the majority of the time, we've been below that average for Nvidia stocks volumes on a weekly basis. The RSI also dropping, so prices up, volumes dropping, RSI dropping. We could be seeing some bearish divergence here that could lead to, it could have some pretty massive implications, we'll say, going forward from here. So we can actually look back at this historically, and it might be a little bit crazy to look at here. There we go. That if we go back to this way, there we are. Find some other times we had some bearish divergence right in here. We'll move that down so you guys can see a little bit better, where we have the RSI dropping. We also have the volumes dropping, the prices up, and a little bit of drop on that. We have an even bigger case for that going back to 2017 through 2018, where those prices made a massive climb, RSI falling, and volumes also tapering for us, and then a big old drop to follow. So that even happened back here. If we go back to 2016 to 2017, although the volume didn't exactly taper off here. And as a matter of fact, I have that noted, even though I can't really see it right now. Let's see if I can move that whole thing down for you. It looks like not really, but there's a note on here that for whatever reason, they're just trying to show about, there you go, no volume taper for this point in time. We didn't get that volume taper, so notice we didn't get that sustained sell, but here where we did get the volume taper, prices rising, RSI falling, momentum falling, that's where we got that massive drop, and that's what I'm looking for. Looking at the weekly chart here. Now, if we go to the daily chart and look more particularly at this, let me put the moving averages up here for you. First of all, the EMAs. Look what we have so far. We have tested the 50 EMA. That's this bottom one down here. We retested yesterday. Today, potentially trading below it. So when the market opens, we'll see if we open there. If we do, then it becomes all about the retest. So we have some early bearish signs following their earnings. And I said we could see some price softness. So far, we've gotten it. And then, well, look what's happening right now. We're still kind of trying to find out if this is going to hold or not. So if we end up getting back up above and holding, so fall down through support on that 50 EMA and then go back up above it. In other words, that resistance to the upside fails as the 50 EMA acting as resistance if we end up below it. So if the resistance fails the retest, I wave into my 17-month-old. She's looking at me through the glass right now. She's very beautiful. But if that retest should happen to fail for resistance, well, we could see a rally coming off of that. So that's very much worth paying attention to. And if I put up the SMAs, the simple moving averages for you, you can see we're on top of the 50 SMA right now. So we still haven't quite hit that as support yet. We're still just a little bit above it, and we'll see what happens today. Really what we're looking for a further sign, a further confirmation of a drop, is falling down below the moving average, retesting for resistance and getting rejected. That could signal a further fall, and that's something with what we're seeing divergence-wise, which you can even see a little bit of an RSI taper here, that the RSI is falling off as the prices somewhat were moving upward, generally upward, and then we got a little bit of a fall coming off of that. Now the RSI is down below 50. So some of the things that I'm seeing on this, just to list them all for you. Major bearish divergence with the weekly RSI tapering mostly below average volumes since March, currently resting on the 50 EMA and just above the SMA. If that support holds, it's a bullish thing. And well, the price could rally significantly from here. If that fails, and especially if we fail the retest of the 50 period moving averages, that is a bearish thing. We could sell off further from there. We're still up above the 200-day, so the overall sentiment is still bullish for Nvidia stock. So I'll get into that in just a moment. The 5 crossed over the 13 period EMAs, and so that's a bearish thing that we're looking at. Daily RSI below 50, also bearish, and then below the 20-day SMA, which has served as support for us, also a bearish thing. There is currently a bullish bias, so any drawdown that we have is likely going to be rapid. And if it does come to a point where we sell off so much that we test the 200-day, I think that could be a point of for massive rally that we see coming off of that. And honestly, maybe we get that drawdown, maybe the drawdowns happen, but I think that it's still going to give us that big finish towards the end of the year. So we're going to have to watch and see what exactly happens. If a sentiment goes, things get overdone as far as selling goes, I think that's what sets up the next massive opportunity. And I think a lot of the large caps are actually feeling some of that pain right now that the cash isn't really heading their way because maybe there's not as much upside to be found as there are with some of the more beaten down stocks that are out there, such as some of the pharmaceutical plays, for example, some of the clean energy plays that are out there, that they've been beaten up so much that maybe just raising them back up to more reasonable levels is something that is more profitable than staying in the large caps. Now, mind you, with that said, the large cap stocks, especially the big tech stocks, if they do get beaten up a little bit, and we start to hit harder economic times, well, they're going to be potentially a safety play, and we see money start flowing back in that direction, and that could be where those returns come in. Now, that's a pretty large narrative that's out there, and so we're going to have to pay attention to what exactly happens on a day-to-day technical basis to see what could happen for us. I am concerned that there could be a more significant sell coming up for us, some pain for Nvidia stock. As a long-term holder for Nvidia, I like to find cheaper stock during these dip type moments, and I think that this is one of those times, especially with the future growth in question for Nvidia. Well, is that growth going to keep going that justifies the lower PEG ratios that gives us room to grow? Is it something that justifies the higher price to earnings ratios that we see on a forward-looking basis? Well, we need that question answered for us for what exactly the future looks like for Blackwell, because they said for the next several quarters, we want to know that it's all throughout 2025 and even growing into 2026, and we just didn't get that through the guidance that Nvidia offered. So we might have to wait up until either the announcements when they have there's a conference coming up in January, and then they have earnings coming out towards the end of February, where we start to hear more color on that. And I think it's going to be a very contentious time unless we get big company news between now and then that gives us more indication to be excited. And during that time, we might see that price softness or that little bit of pain come in. So let me put up the technicals for you, just so you guys know, available already at the Discord. So if you want to see these earlier, especially pre-market hours where you can kind of set things up early for yourself, have more time to consider it, consider signing up for the Patreon, head on over to the Discord, see my technicals that I have over there, see what I'm buying and selling throughout these days in the markets. We'd love to have you as part of the community, and you can do these technicals yourself. If you don't know how, there's a link for Stockmo Academy down in the description. Click on that, sign up using the code word DOCTOR for a massive discount, and you can also get access to the bread recipe trading strategy and a learning community go along with it, both with very positive testimonials, the course being paid for in as little as one trade using that bread recipe trading strategy. So guys, let me just give you these prices and then we'll wrap things up for the video. So just let me unhide some of these things here for you, some of these price labels, and then we'll get some of these lines out here as well. So we'll make everything visible now that I had hidden before for you. There we go. So here are the prices that you want to be watching for Nvidia. Support-wise on the way down, 136.49 is a pretty key level because that's a round number for the Fibonacci extensions. Down below that's about 131, then down to about 124.50, then down to about 115.57, and down below that we start to get that low 100s range. Keep in mind some of the previous values that we've had before for where we found significant resistance, that'll be significant support. So 131 is an important one. And then the bottoms that we had below that were about 116-ish. And then those other bottoms started coming around 106. And then that carry trade that we saw back in August is what pushed us down under 100. I think something else we want to pay attention to on this is the 200-day, which is coming around just below that 115.57. So we could get that significant push down if we break the 50 EMA and SMA, especially if we get rejected on a retest for resistance. If we get rejected, that's where we see that further sell. in my opinion. Now, mind you, we're going to have to see how that plays out. Maybe, just maybe, and I want to finish this way, that all of this stuff, that these technicals fall apart and we rally from here anyway, well, then we have some upside to look forward to. So 140.32, maybe even we get up through this resistance area up to the top and we end up hitting that 155.65 that we fell short of before and then tumbled back down through support, now turned into resistance. And now we're looking for that next area of support for us. Where exactly does that floor come in? Maybe it's the 50 EMA, SMA. If that floor fails, then I think the 200-day is that next big one that we want to be looking forward to. All right, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Check out the link for the Patreon to join us over at the Discord. And then also that technical analysis course. Use the code word doctor when you sign up. It's going to give you massive savings. Thank you very much for watching. I am Dr. Sock, Doctor of Education. Remember, my friends, that learning is earning. We'll see you next video.